My name is Damon Young, and I'm from East Lib. Okay, so my parents moved to East Liberty from Verona when I was like 9, 10 years old. I was a kid, toddler, whatever you want to call it, right? And Verona was mostly white, right? White kids in the neighborhood, white families in the neighborhood that we lived in. And then I moved to East Liberty, and it's, the street where I lived on Mellon Street was mostly black. And so to me, that move, it was like every day was Kennywood, right? Because I would be playing, free frog in the street, playing football, kickball, having super soaker battles with the kids from the next block. I lived on Mellon Street, right? And also East Liberty at that time was just a very vibrant place to me where, you got your shoes at David's, David Shoes in East Liberty. Every Friday we would get, a pizza from Vento's, which is right next to the Giant Eagle, right there on, I guess that's Highland Avenue. It was also a time where it wasn't probably the most safe. The late 80s, early 90s were when gangs and, all the gang violence really kind of overtook the city, particularly the East End. And I didn't particularly feel unsafe, but I'm sure my parents were terrified with me out there having fun, being around a neighborhood or whatever. And so by the time I get to like 12 or 13, they finally allowed me to go to Pennley and hoop by myself. Now, Pennley was about 5 blocks away, and you had to cross East Liberty Boulevard to get there. So it was a bit of a journey, bit of a hike for me. But again, by the time I was 12, 13, my parents let me do that as long as I was home before the streetlights came on. And so one day, I'm out at Pennley, I'm hooping, I'm doing my thing, right? And my dad had bought me this expensive basketballs, like an NBA ball, one of those really good leather balls, indoor, outdoor, that, if someone has a ball like that, it's the ball you play with, right, when you're hooping. And so I'm running fives, and my ball happened to be on a sideline, right, next to this man who had his pit bull tied up, next to the fence. Pit bull eats my ball. I go home. My dad's like, "Where's your ball? What happened?" And I tell him. And so my dad's like, "Okay, well, if I see this guy, you gotta buy you a new ball." Now, what I didn't tell my dad at this time was that this guy who had the pit bull was like 6'6", 6'7", muscles everywhere. He had tattoos, and this is before niggas had tattoos, right? This is before everyone had tattoos, and if you were tatted up back in 1992, it just meant something different to being tatted up today, right? So, a couple of weeks go past. We're in Giant Eagle. I see this guy, right? Big guy, big shoulders, big chest, whatever. I tell my dad, it's like, "Yo, that's the guy." And so my dad goes up to him. It's like, "My son said that, your dog ate his ball. He would, I would appreciate an apology, and if you could buy us a new ball because you should take care of this." And so they're about 15 feet away, and I could hear them talking. But then it dawns on me after about 30 or 40 seconds that it's not the right guy, right? So I go up to my dad all like sheepishly or whatever, and I'm like, "Dad, that's actually not him." Right? And he's like, "You sure?" And I'm like, yeah, that's not him. Okay. He apologizes to the guy, and we go shopping or whatever. So a couple weeks after that, I see the guy again. We're also in Giant Eagle again. And the guy, again, it was like, just imagine Depot. Just imagine like a light-skinned Depot, right? Big ass muscles, like 6'6", 6'7", 2 pit bulls. 2 pit bulls is taking up the entire block. You know what I mean? And I tell my dad, it's like, "Yo, that's the guy." And my dad looks at me like, "Are you sure?" That's him. So he goes up to him. "My son said that one of your dogs ate his ball, et cetera, et cetera." And so the guy, he comes up to me like, "Yo, I'm sorry, little man, my bad, I'm sorry, blah, 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 I didn't mean it, dog didn't mean it, whatever." I didn't get a new ball, but I did get an apology. So later that summer, we're in Newcastle. Newcastle's where my dad's family is from. That's where we had family reunions. I was in Newcastle probably 3-4 times a year, just for various family events. And my dad comes from a big family And it was always like just a really good time when we would be in Newcastle. And my dad's a storyteller. All of my uncles and my older cousins are storytellers. So I'm overhearing them telling stories, and my dad gets up and he's talking about, this time where this man ate his son's ball, ate my ball. And my dad was talking about how terrified he was to approach this man, this giant man with these two pit bulls. Like he's telling the stories like my heart was beating, but I still did what I had to do. And that was the first time I heard my dad express any fear. And at that point, it just really dawned on me that, fear isn't something that goes away when you get older. It's just something that you have to learn how to move through, learn how to deal with. And in this case, you got to stand up for your son. I mean, I never got a new ball. The guy never replaced the ball. We just, my dad eventually bought me a new ball, but it was like a black. It was one of them. It wasn't like the great basketball before. It was like a black basketball, indoor, outdoor, that I had for a couple of years, but we never got a new ball. I think an apology was the most I was going to get out of that guy, and even getting an apology was enough. Like, my bad, little man. I don't mean it. My dog, he a nice dog. My bad. It's all good. We good, right? And he gave me a pound. His hand went all the way down to like my elbow, right? But yeah, no new ball for me.